All right, welcome back, Vintage Gamers. First Vintage Showcase of 2023. I assume we will get one season of Vintage this year, so that'll be 3 showcases. The top 8 of each of the showcases get to play in a showcase qualifier. The winner gets to go to the Mox. Mox being a $70,000 8-player split format cube and constructed, which is exciting. Definitely one of the highlights and the top end prizes for playing competitive events on Magic Online. So this is the first step in our journey to the Mox. Technically not the first step, as you have to enter this with 40 qualifier points, which you gain playing leagues, challenges, and prelims. And then you enter with your 40 qualifier points and you battle. Today, it looks like we're going to have around 150 players, so quite large for a vintage event. You get a lot of players from other formats coming in to use their QPs here. So I have a PO deck in front of you tuned for the current metagame. I like Lavinia a lot against basically everything that's happening. It's really good against the combo elements of the format. It's good on the play against mono white. And it's just an all-around all-star right now. And then I'm also using my flex slots to play 1 swords and 1 balance as additional answers to the mono white menace. Sideboard has a pile of extra removal for mono white. I was testing a very cute tech in periphery nodes. It ended up just not being as strong as I had hoped it would be, so we're just back to Swords to Plowshares. And then I have a very anti-combo sideboard here of Mystic Remoras and Negations. Remora is a card that fell off quite heavily due to Urza Saga's printing, but right now all the best combo decks are not playing. All the best combo decks are not actually playing Urza Saga, so Mystic Remora actually goes up in value quite a lot. You will notice that I have 1 Hurkyl's in the 75. Normally, I play 1 Hurkyl's main and 3 Hurkyl's board as to appease the shop's overlords. The shop's overlords are enough diminished now where I think I can get away with just having access to a single Hurkyl's post board. It does make the matchup way less strong, way less in my favor. But previously, I would say the matchup is heavily in my favor. Now I think it's only slightly in my favor, but you still have the option to, early tinker and that kind of thing. So I don't think the matchup is destroyed, but it definitely is harder. I just hope we won't hit any shops along the way. I am fixing the mana base and playing a basic plains as additional respect to mono white. We want to be able to fetch a basic plains and have it not go into play tapped, have it not be wastelanded, and have the ability to cast Swords of Plowshares Balance and all of the white cards in our deck. So that is the plan today, and we'll see how it goes. If you'd like to see your deck played on this channel, check out the Patreon link in the description below, where you can find all the information you need to submit a donation deck list. Let's battle. All right, round 1, Avaloon. I don't know, is this going to just be more goblins, or did they abandon goblins? I know goblins has been struggling into mono white due to mono white's ton of removal spells, so Goblins kind of exploits the same metagame hole as mono white in the fact that it is relying on your opponents to not have creature removal and instead have Force of Will, and then you cavern out your combo, which is a creature-based combo. So actually, Goblins is in the same spot as mono white, and so mono white being probably the a better version of the cavern deck, and also playing multiple removal spells in the main, and also forcing other decks to play removal spells, probably puts Goblins in a bad spot. That being said, I don't know exactly what they're up to, and I would keep this hand in the blind versus most decks, but against Goblins, it's not great. Don't know if they are playing Goblins. 3 lands is a lot for PO. I would rather try to find a more explosive hand than this, even though I would probably keep this against a lot of decks because I think Force Misstep in turn 2 Lavinia does do work there. This hand is definitely significantly better. I'm just going to keep this and put the Lavinia away. Seeing as I can't cast it on turn 1, I would rather look for something like Ponder into Moxen to play Tinker. And I am going to go fetch a basic and play Ponder. All right, so now I have Force. So I'll take I'm actually going to take Sapphire. Get that in play now. And then we're going to draw into top, so that after we tinker, we have a chance of being able to play our top. Grief. That's unfortunate. All right. So yeah, not goblins. Would I have been better off with a turn 2 Lavinia Force Misstep hand? Probably not. So is this just Dredge then? It's just Dredge. All right. So if they have Force of any kind, it's quite bad for us. But not much we can do about it. Yeah, they had Force and Grief and Double Dredger and Bizarre. So I don't know. Not much to say here. 7-card hand, Bizarre hand, pretty unbeatable. I know I'm drawing into Flusterstorm, which is also... Oh, no, I'm not drawing into Flusterstorm because I fetched, but... I mean, not much to do. All right, so how do I get out of this game? I am in need of... I don't know. Ancestral Recall into something. They're still not even F6, so they have another Force. Awesome. That's fantastic. Awesome. So my opponent's hand was Bizarre, Double Dredger, Double Force, Grief. Cool. I think this is still technically a game I can win. So I'm going to play one more turn. If I draw something like Ancestral into Lotus Yogwill... Oh, I guess my Tinker got negated. So that makes it pretty tough as well. Awesome. All right, I am dead. All right, well, I've got a Sphinx. I've got a Soul Guide, a Needle, a Tabernacle. And I've got... That's probably it. Maybe this Flusterstorm. Lavinias are great. Dress downs are poor. Bringing a Flusterstorm against Grief is, like, pretty bad. Get rid of an island here. I think this is fine. Get rid of a misstep here, so maybe we can bring in this. I don't know how many, like, removal spells I want to leave in for, like, Hollow One, but I don't have, like, that many good options, so... Let's do this. I like my cards for this matchup. I have Lavinia, which is quite good. I have Mentor. What does this hand do? I think this hand's just bad because it can't make additional mana off this. This hand is a Moxen short, right? None of my combinations of cards here are particularly powerful. Close. Let's try again. Yeah, that's a hand. We're keeping that. This hand is extremely susceptible to Force of Vigor, but... I think I'm just going to bottom Mystical and go for Time Walk PO. kept a 6-card hand. I'll bait Mindbreak Trap with this top. They have Vigor. It's really unfortunate. Yeah. Found Force of Will, though. All right. Your move, opponent. Thug, Amalgam, Dakmore. I don't think I'm in a position where I can wait here, so I'm just going to go PO and hope it works. Did work. Now I need to find something for Graveyard Hate off of this top. Unfortunately, we're past the point where Lavinia is actually any good. It's really rough. Still probably am supposed to draw into it. So now my opponent just dredges, and it's just, can I win fast enough? I'm not close to Sphinx. I'm still 2 mana off after a mana crypt. This looks really bad for me. I kind of needed that PO to actually be good, but we did know we had 2 blanks on top, so... Second Bazaar? I don't know. Getting vintage is pretty hard. Yeah, I'm gonna respin. This was really just a series of unfortunate games. Nope, we're dead. 3, 6, 8, 9. Yeah, we're just dead here. What about white, blue? I don't actually have enough colored mana to make Sphinx. I have enough colorless mana, which is pretty funny. Because I have white and blue, or white and black, but no of the other kind. It's pretty close. If I had a land, I'd have Sphinx. No, I guess, I mean, it's not a crazy PO list, but it's my PO list. Yeah, I mean, I think we had good hands. I think our opponent's hands were just so much better than ours. There wasn't much we could do. They kept 6 and 7 card Bazaar hands that had, game 1 had triple interaction, game 2 had single interaction into double Bazaar, so I don't think Lavinia as a blocker matters very much. I don't want to use my top activation. I want to keep my top in play. Yeah, we're super dead. Oh, yeah, we're super dead. Technically, if they don't hit another Creeping Chill, Lavinia would block and save us a turn, but... Oh, not with a Bloodghast, though. Cool. Well, we played 2 non-games. Not much to say. Okay, here we go. Round 2. Let's see if we can play some Magic this round. Yep. This almost lets me go Merchant for Fluster. Right? Because it's 2. But I guess what we could do instead is just bait with Merchant and then cast Ancestral. Or I could just play Island, Emerald, Opal, pass, and not expose myself to a Wasteland. And I think I'm going to do that. And then if Ancestral gets countered, it's just... I can get PO. I can scroll for Fluster, but I can't do anything with it. I have to pass. I didn't Ancestral. Oh well. I gotta stop reading text and actually play Magic. All right. Well, if it's mono white, I have a balance, but that's about it. Let's see what happens. Saga Gamer. Okay. Blue mana. Narset. Foundry Inspector. Okay. I guess we are in the 0-1 bracket. I did cut all my Hercules from my deck, though, so could be problematic. I have 0 Hercules in my main, so this is likely to be a lot harder than it should be. Man. I can't even, like, get a Hercules and then combo off. What do I even do? I don't even have... I guess I can get Mystical, and then Mystical for Tinker, but I have to go through a Sphere. It's probably fine. I guess I could get Brainstorm. It's not terrible. Nah, I think I'm just gonna go... just Mystical for Tinker here. I have to play through a Sphere, but it's probably fine. Is this it? You just have Foundry Inspector go? I guess if they play Second Sphere, like Workshop Second Sphere, that'd be pretty annoying. They just have nothing else? Okay, sure. Yeah, I guess that's fine. This is the reason I left the land drop open. But now they get to finish their saga. Do I want to take an extra damage and play extra damage from Mana Crypt? Probably. I think I'm just gonna spin first. Oh, Lavinia looks like actually good on this board. It's like a lot harder when you don't have Hercules, huh? They can't play 2-drops that are non-creatures still, because I have a Lavinia. I'll probably take the 3 damage too. And then next turn, I can take 3. So I can take 3, go to 8, take 3, go to 5. And then I have tons of mana to play through my Citadel. Not tons of life to use, but I guess if they play like a creature, it's kind of annoying. Like a Ballista or something. Looks like a Ballista. Wow. Okay. It's pretty good. And a Revoker on top? Oh, it's a good thing I have a balance, I guess. Go to 8, go to 5. I kind of need to get rid of this Mana Crypt. I'm going to lose a ton of lands to play balance, but... I guess I could technically dress down instead, but... I did win the flip. It's kind of nice. Alright, so I am just going to... cast balance. Gonna keep Academy Demonic in my hand. Oh, I needed to float a mana. Whoops. It's fine. That was a little bit of a mistake. I'm kind of just playing like shit right now. I don't know what's going on. I don't really want to use this life. I guess I can spin first and see if there's anything good underneath it. I think this is free. Demonic. Just have to go mentor. I guess I can PO to guarantee that I don't die to Mana Crypt. Maybe that's actually better. I don't really want to use any more life. Let's float a white. Blue. You can kind of just play through this sphere. All right, they're off it. Okay. So I get to bring in... I mean, Tolarian Academy lets you ignore Sphere. It's kind of the only one. I get to bring in Fragmentize and Swords. And I get to bring in Sphinx and Hercules. And I can consider Negation and Plains. And then we've got Fluster, Probe, Misstep. Lavinia on the draw, maybe. Narset. Yogwill. Oh no, top. That looks fine. Have our Hercules, have this. We have Demonic, Ancestral. It's probably a keep. It's not ideal, but could also just Teferi bounce, depending on what's going on. It's a little light on mana. Another Lotus Hand, okay. It's bad for me for sure. They can go double spheres now. Oh, they played a Saga. Interesting. They have a 1-drop. They have a 4-drop. Patchwork. Sure. Oh, sphere. Can't Teferi bounce this, unfortunately. Could Teferi bounce the Saga, though, if I wanted to. A land drop is totally fine. I think what we're going to do is just going to Demonic for a... an Ancestral. This does get Mind Break trapped, I guess, but... I don't have to Ancestral now, but I want to use my floating mana, so... I could definitely play around Mind Break Trap. Alright, so now I have a spot where I have Mentor Hercules, so I think we're pretty well set up here. Could also Teferi bounce the Saga if we wanted to. Is this going to be no land drop follow-up on Saga again? Wow. Opponent is taking some risky Lotus Keeps. I'm not sure that I vibe with. Tundra, Mentor, Mana Crypt, Trigger Mentor, Teferi, Bounce Saga. Could even bounce the Automaton if I wanted to, but I have all these Mentor tokens. The Automaton doesn't matter anymore. Well, 1 Hercules, no problem. I'm not really thrilled with the hands my opponent kept. Probably going to end up Herculing ourselves this game. All right. Cool. All right, we're back here for round 3, Vintage Showcase. I've got 2 Mox Opals. I'm mulliganing. This hand's so bad. My hands have been not great. I'm just going to pull this back. Try to go better. That's my best hand by a lot. They're on a mold of 5. I wonder if they're also on Bazaar again. I'm just going to bottom the swords, and I guess this opal? No, that doesn't help me. I just don't know what likelihood this sword is going to be valuable in. We did win the shop smash up that we took 3 cards out of our deck for. I'm just gonna get rid of this opal and try to draw into another mana source of a color. It also will prevent me from getting... Oh, crap. Alright, it's mono white. I should have kept my swords, but... If I get solituded here... It's cool. Oh, now I can't get solituded. Okay. Well, this kind of works out. I guess if I get wastelanded, it's pretty bad. Of course, I bottom the swords against mono white, but Teferi's not bad. Mentor's fine. See what happens. Ancient Tomb. I think that's just fine. It's not great. It was my black source. Also makes like the Teferi not great either because they're going to kill my emerald, but I think I'm still doing it. I guess I could bounce my emerald. I could just not bounce anything. If I don't bounce anything, I have no chance of countering this. Now, probably that's actually fine. I think this is fine. It's really bad if my opponent draws Solitude, I guess. But I think everything is really bad if my opponent draws Solitude. But this at least lets me, like, if they play an initiative creature, then I can steal the initiative. Which they're going to do? That's crazy. I feel like you're not allowed to cast that here. I guess if I bounce this, they can take the initiative back by casting. I could force it on the way back down. Oh, I'm definitely okay with just trading here. It does force me into bouncing this, but again, I think that's fine. That's a terrible draw. That's a good draw. Who's the initiative now? I guess I should have cast this ahead of time to deal 1 extra damage. I'm bad at Magic. What can I say? It's fine. Everything's fine. I wasn't even like playing around to Solitude because I have a Teferi in play. So I feel like I'm making lots of really poor errors. Let's forge onto the monk token. All right. Well, now I have hardcast force, and they don't have a cavern currently, so I can't imagine we can lose this game. I also have an active Teferi again. Caracas. Sapphire. I could force Sapphire just to get a monk for lethal, but the initiative. I don't know, man. Initiative is definitely a deck of Magic cards. Oh, I have Trap. I'm just gonna win with Trap. That was definitely a game of Magic for sure. All right, so plain swords. You bring in Fragmentize for Null Rod. We bring in Negation. On the draw, I've been taking out Lavinia. I've been taking out Mental Misstep. I've been taking out Narset. I've been taking out Flusterstorms. I'm bringing in Sphinx as an option. It's not something I care that much about, but it's an option. And then I usually just take out the probe. I'm the dungeoneer now. So I practiced this matchup a bunch with Dylan, and it definitely feels very PO favored. I was testing periphery nodes, but it was like a turn too slow, and opponents could basically just play through the nodes. Like, it was almost never correct for them to like let the nodes wear off, and so all they would do is just jam a bunch of creatures, and they would pretty much win through the nodes every time. So I decided just to play more swords. I thought that was going to be a really cool tech for the tournament, and that ended up just not being the case. This has force. Yeah, this is probably a keep, but it's definitely a little bit on the risky side of things. I probably will not. Okay, they went for Ancient Tomb Go. Okay, interesting. See, I don't think that's a keepable hand, depending on what. Like, it just depends on what's in their hand, but I really dislike Ancient Tomb Go. I think I am just going to Demonic for Tinker and go for a Citadel kill, because I can force any non-Cavern threat here, and I can Swords any Caverned Archon threat. So I can't see myself losing this game. Something really bad would have to happen. Yeah, we're up against Mono White, which honestly, just not a strong deck, especially if you mulligan like this. You have to be mulliganing correctly, I think, for Mono White to actually be a powerful deck. Sure, I don't think that changes anything. They do have Cavern, which is still fine because I have access to swords. And if it's Cavern on Spirit and not Cavern on Archon, then I don't care at all. This is going to be a Null Rod probably. But then, no, they would have had to draw on it this turn. Yeah, I don't know. Like, you can't keep these hands. This hand is just not keepable from the Mono White side. Which actually, you know, does beg the question, is Mono White's win rate suppressed by people not understanding the mulligans? I don't know. I do have to technically kill the Spirit of the Labyrinth to use my Sensei's top, but they just mulliganed to like 6 and then they went Ancient Tomb Go, which is not really acceptable. All right, so I am... What I'm gonna do... I can't do anything here. I can't get this Brainstorm, right? I have to fetch to get Swords mana. It's kind of unfortunate. Oh, I guess I can technically Brainstorm and put 2 cards back on top and then put this... Oh, what do I... Oh, why didn't I do that? I could have not played my land drop, cast Brainstorm, drawn 0 cards, put top and swords back on top. Or I could get rid of 2 cards. There's like a lot of things I can do here. I think I actually just wanted to... Oh, but now that I've played my land, if I just play Brainstorm and then fetch... I don't know why I thought I couldn't do that. Yeah, if I just do Brainstorm and fetch... I don't even know if like this is that much better. I guess I have a Sensei's top, so it's fine. We're not really changing that much. We get to go deeper, I guess. This is fine. Mindbreak Trap? Sure. I go like this. And then I go top. Blue mana. Opal. Keep the new Opal. Ancestral hold priority. Draw through. This game's over. I don't know. My opponent just did not keep a keepable hand. Maybe they had a Mindbreak Trap, so they thought that that was going to be good. I think Mindbreak Trap is in general just not a super strong card. I mean, it's like the only option they really have, but I just dislike it quite a lot. Oh. That's like the biggest problem I think with the deck is it has really no options to like beat on the draw stuff. Just draw through to another Pia. Oh. I have so many things I can do here. Yeah, okay, sure. It's gonna get like a PO, but now I can just get like a Snapcaster targeted PO, and then have this get like a anything. Doesn't matter. Well, yeah, I don't think PO needs sideward sauce to beat it, but it is nice to have swords. So I guess this is what happens when you take the early round 1 loss. We continue battling. Okay, here we go. What round are we in? Round 4? 2 and 1. Gotta win out. This hand has all kinds of counter magic and a tinker, so we're just drawing to artifacts. I usually keep these kind of hands. It's pretty weak hand against Wasteland and against Bizarre, but Flooded Strand 5-card hand is a good sign. And we hit a Moxen. Cool. I'm going to play this just in case of like Lavinia or something. Our best draw is going to be a second Moxen. That will let us go Tolarian, Tinker with Flusterstorm, and Force backup. All right. Tinker. Fluster. They kind of have to have double Fluster. They can pay for one, but I can pay for one. I guess they chose not to pay for one. Maybe they have second Fluster. Pretty bad for me if they have second Fluster, for what it's worth. Wow, they have second Fluster? That's crazy. All right. I lost a Moxen, so my POs are worse. Wow, double Fluster hand. Okay. I don't think I'm even favored anymore. That's pretty much the worst possible outcome, but I mean, I'm always taking that risk there. All right, another pass. It's just looking for even more Moxen, I guess. That's not terrible. They have their own. I'm definitely going to let this happen. It's going to be an Ancestral. Or not. So I don't have enough to really make Yagwil work here. This is going to be Ancestral. I mean, if they have a third Fluster, it's really bad, right? But I think that's okay. I think I want to keep PO. I think I don't care about having more Flusters at this point in the game. Or more Forces at this point in the game. Actually, Fluster's only 4 copies right now, so it can't counter both things anyways. They have Force, pitching Force? So their hand was Force, Force, Fluster, Fluster? Alright, well, they get to resolve Ancestral. Do we get to resolve Vampiric, or did you draw a Mental Misstep? Alright, so I have options. I can just go Narset, which plays around a bunch of things. I can go Ancestral. I can go... I think it's Narset, Ancestral. You could go like Mana Crypt, but I think I like Narset here. Should make their draws worse and help us build back up to a PO. technically is a permanent for PO on its own. They have to have another Force plus blue card. They have another Force plus blue card. Okay. My opponents had 3 Forces, Ancestral, 2 Flusters, and no mana. Yeah, I think Narset was a good choice. And then what? And they have what? A Vanival. All right, so they're probably playing PO as well. We probably need a Moxen or something so that we can PO. We drew a Mental Misstep, which would have been great for this Mana Vault. Okay. I mean, it's impressive. My opponent had so many counters for... They mulliganed to 5 in this game. And did we mulligan at all? And they had more counters than we did. They might have hard cast fourth Force here. I'm just going to PO these 2 on my turn. Okay. Lavinia, Dressstone, known combo. I still think we're doing good here. Only because my opponent mulliganed to 5, really. If my opponent had 2 extra cards, I don't think this game would have been remotely close. P over 3 here is quite good. Okay, so I can Mystical for a Yogg-Will, dress down into the Yogg-Will. Yeah, I think it's worth doing that. I mean, if they have 4th Force, it's bad. If they have 3rd Fluster, it's also bad. But, all right, they don't have anything. All right. This. I think we just tinker. If you at first you don't succeed, tinker, tinker again. Okay. So we're just gonna Mystical for Time Walk. Hit Force again on top. Okay. I guess I'm gonna put a Mentor on top. I have Force again on top. Okay. All right, they're off it. Obviously, Dress Down Mentor also not a combo. All right, that was a pretty crazy game, actually, for how good our hand was to what happened. So looking at a PO mirror here, we're going to do Opposition Agent, Negations, Mystic Remoras, Flusterstorms. And then I'm going to take out Island, Swords, Balance, Mystical Tutor, 1 Dress Down, second Dress Down. This leaves me a little code tokens, but I think it's fine. What if they have their own Lavinias? Yeah, Mystic Remora is a classic combo mirror breaker but it hasn't really been played much since the printing of Urza Saga. Urza Saga makes it a little annoying. I don't know what else I want to cut. Maybe a top. Do that maybe. It also, Mystic Remora gets a lot better when you start playing negations. This hand's nice. Solid. I mean, the Opal's annoying, but it's like that sometimes. Yeah, I had a pretty... I think I like the way I've teched out the deck for this metagame. I feel like we're really good against Initiative, and we're good against like the Jewel Shops and the other fast combo decks. Dredge is definitely something we didn't really want to see in round 1, but That's just magic. We also didn't really want to see shops after we cut all the Hercles, but we did okay. All right, I'm going to keep this hand, though, in the PO mirror. Narset's great. We've got counter magic. We've got misstep, which is fantastic in the PO mirror. Probe lets us see their whole hand, so... Or maybe not. I am going to misstep this. I don't think I want my opponent seeing my hand here. We might end up not probing because we need to 5 a blue card for negation, but... Negation doesn't counter Ancestral on my upkeep here, which would be annoying. I am just going to go Underground Sea, Mana Vault, and Opal. And I'm going to hold the probe for my negation so that I can hopefully not die this turn and then slam a Narset on the next turn. I do think my opponent is PO based on the fact that we saw a Mana Vault of their own, and now we've seen an Opal, so... Alright, they don't have a second land drop. They might have a Force here, but that would be okay as well. Top. Alright, I was kind of using that as bait. I guess there's no reason not to play this out. Maybe I should have just played it out first. I don't have enough to get... I don't have enough to get double blue, but what I could do is get a Flusterstorm. I have a spin and I have a crack. Would lose my top, obviously, but getting a Narset in play is probably worth it. I could also crack and then... I think I'd rather spin and then look. Why not probe? Maybe I just let this happen. I want all of these cards. I mean, I don't think there's any real reason to probe. Because I know I know their hand has to have Force of Will. Their hand can't have anything else. It had Force of Will pitching Lavinia. If you just know what the cards are. I don't know what I'm going to do with this. Narset is so good against PO. I think we still have to, though. I guess I could just draw into Force. And then if their last card is Fluster, it's bad. But then we still have... Yeah, what if I do that? What if I just draw into Force and pitch Probe? Or I could draw into Force, pitch Negation, and then draw into... That draws me into Top, which is not that good. Oh, wait, no, I have a Narset, though. If my Narset resolves, I can just take Ancestral and then cast Ancestral. The only way this doesn't work is if my opponent ends up with Fluster as their last card. So I can just force pitch Negation. I don't even want to pitch Negation. I might just pitch Probe because we're still going to Narset into Ancestral. I want to be able to pass the turn with a Force up and a Narset on board. Then it's just impossible to lose. I guess if they could have... But I guess if my opponent does have Flusterstorm here, then Negation does nothing anyways. No, I still like this. Oh, we could... No, because there's a top on top. So we can't get the Ancestral. That was what I was thinking about, but that's not true. I could theoretically not even cast Ancestral here, but I think it's really pretty reasonable too. I think there's a lot of ways you could play that out, and I think all of them are pretty reasonable. All right, so now we have a Negation and an active Narset. I mean, I think we're just super winning. I guess we did just turn off our own Opal, so we have no mana. They have Tinker as their last card. Looks like it. Could be their own Narset. Could be Mentor. Mentor's nuts here. It's Tinker. Never pitch negation, chat. I wonder if I was just supposed to kick Fluster. I guess I could have taken Fluster Probe. Oh, I'm gonna cast this Tinker and hope that they concede. Yeah, I didn't actually have a Tinker target. I might have been supposed to just cast Opposition Agent there. I just saw Tinker, so I took it, but I shouldn't have done that. Okay, here we are, 3-1, halfway through this 8-round showcase event. Need to continue winning 4 more rounds of Vintage Magic the Gathering. I'm on the play. That's a hand. I think I'm just going to go Sapphire Vault, Strand, top, no spin, draw, upkeep, spin. Because I'm going to hold the Tolarian Academy. So I think it's just going to be basic island, Sapphire, Vault, top. You could technically hold the Vault and get a top spin. I think this is fine, though. Hold the Vault top spin is like better if you need to find force, because then you don't have to use your Vault. Uh-oh. That's bad. Is it going to be Cavern Archon, or is it going to be something else? Mana Vault. Okay. Am I going to get Jewel Shopped or something? Pass? My opponent kept a no land hand on the back of Mana Vault, Mana Crypt. Maybe they have... I don't know what that means. Not 100% sure what that means. They must have something terrifying in their hand. I'm going to upkeep spin so that I can maybe draw PO and still have my top in play. And if I don't, or if I don't like the bottom 2 cards, I could technically fetch away. Dress down Force of Will. Well, I definitely am going to take this Force of Will. And then I think I'm just going to play Tolarian Academy and hold everything up. I mean, I assume they must have like Tinker with Force backup, so maybe this is not effective, but... If my opponent is on like Oops All spells or something, though, having double Dress Down is kind of nice. Five mana? Might. Okay, so they are... All right, I'm just going to counter this. I don't really want them drawing out of this. And then I think I will just spin. Okay. I'm going to draw this Opal and then spin. And then if it's still bad, then we'll fetch and spin. And we're just going to look for something here. Demonic Tutor. So that's Tinker. So that at least forces them to have a force. I do lose my top to do this, but I think that's fine. Is there anything better? I could just PO. That is like less harmful to me if I get forced. Yeah, I think that's fine. certainly resulted in a worse outcome. I do have Citadel next turn, but it's kind of unlikely that I live if they... Oh, I guess they lost their Mana Vault, so they're pretty far from doing for a Jewel. So maybe it's fine. I guess that went okay. I don't know. I just felt like if I tinkered and they did end up with Force, and then I didn't have my Opal turned on, it just looked really bad. Where this is still fine. It's still not great because I'm going to have to use my fetch lands. Time Vault. Yeah. I think I should just fetch upkeep here. Oh, I just drew a PO. All right, well, that's fine. I can actually float black mana, which will let me not use my land drop to play Citadel. Yeah, my opponent kept a greedy hand, it looks like, and didn't pay off. But, I mean, that's the whole deck. The whole deck is built to do that. So I'm going to bring in Negation, Hercules, Remora. I'm not going to bring in an extra Flusterstorm. I am going to bring in Fragmentize, though. And I'm going to take out Island, and I'm going to take out Swords and Balance and Dress Down. I actually don't really care for, like, I don't really care about Saga tokens here. They are what they are. I'm going to board in Hercules Recall anyways. And then it's actually not really a great Snapcaster matchup. You can just do this. This looks fine. Jewel Shops is basically just traditional Belcher. It is an all-in combo deck. It's a Pact of Negation deck. It just is nicer than like Oops All Spells because it doesn't die to Graveyard Hate. And this is our teched out sideboard plan for Oops All Spells with 2 Remora, 2 Negation. And you shouldn't really opponents shouldn't really expect Negation, because PO players don't typically play Negation because Negation doesn't help counter or help push POs through. So is Initiative actually viable? Yeah, it's absolutely viable. The reason it's super viable in Vintage is because of the card Archon of America. Jewel is Coveted Jewel. It's a 6 mana commander card that makes 3 mana of any color and draws 3 cards when it ETBs. Jewel Shopped win condition? It's just bulk key plus Saga tokens, typically. Yeah, if you want to learn more about the initiative, the second to last video on my YouTube channel, which might still be my Control V, it's not. I have like a 15-minute video explaining initiative or why initiative is playable. This hand's really good. This hand's great because I can counter their first threat and then kill their mana sources. Can't kill that mana source, though. I mean, maybe they're just going to have a turn 1 Mightstone here. Time Walk? Yeah, okay. And another one? And a Time Vault? This is still fine. I don't want to spend my counter on a Time Vault. I can Turkles, possibly. I can Fragmentize a Saga, so I think it's fine. I fully expect them to play a Jewel here. They only have 2 cards left in their hand, though, so I think we're in a good spot. They have Pass? Interesting. Maybe they have a PO on my turn. So if I Fragmentize, then I can't hold open Hardcast Negation, which I could hold open. Or I could like Ponder and Fragmentize. I don't think Fragmentize really helps right now. I think I'd rather just hold everything up. Something I can also do is end of turn Hercules and then slam a Lavinia. Pass again. Okay. Fluster. All right, I'm going to Ponder this time. Not really advancing. Ancestral Merchant Vamp. All right, I think I'm just going to draw Ancestral and cast it now. I know it's going to draw me additional blue cards anyways. And I have a Vamp off of Jet. Oh. I guess I get to hold open everything again. Pretty good. Man, I really like playing Pia against these kind of decks. It's kind of frustrating because you do lose like a certain amount of games, but I just have so much more agency. More restricted cards too. What do we got? Mana Vault? Sure. All right, now we just vamp for Tinker and win. Trying to figure out which one I really want to keep. I can technically just keep Academy open. I don't think I like that though. No, I'm just gonna keep all the blue mana. Got a force? Nope. Right, game's over. Well, another fast game here. This is Hercules in response here. I'll just fluster off the top. They can technically pay for this. So they probably will. And then we'll fluster again. Fluster isn't even good in this matchup. I don't even like bring extra in. All right, this game is over. Opponent can concede with Citadel 16 life and a top. I also have 5 cards in hand still. It's crazy. Let's see what they kept in their hand, actually. I'm pretty interested to see what their hand was that they kept. They had Metamorph Hercules Recall. Doesn't look like a keep to me. We can actually play this off the top. All right, well, this game is over. Might be supposed to pick up Mentor there, so it's less triggers. All right, now I have Demonic Time Walk. Actually, I probably just have a lethal Citadel Yogwell kill here. What's easier, lethal Citadel Yogwell or Mentor Time Walk here? Probably just Mentor Time Walk. All right. One top and attack. Easier than clicking 10 permanents with Citadel. Okay. Another one. 10-minute round. We've had 5 10-minute rounds. All right, 4-1. Now round 6 of 8. Our opponent is Chains. Chains has been pioneering some Oath decks in the rug controlling area. see what we got for us today. Will it be Orchardless? All we know is that opponent is going to have way too many counter spells, and it's going to be quite the challenging matchup for us. We do have maybe some Murmuras in the board that could help, but we'll see what happens. Chains on a mulligan to 6. Chains keeps 6. I am going to play the Crypt because... Actually, I think I'm just going to catch Merchant Scroll. Gonna get Island to play around Wasteland, and we're gonna go get an Ancestral. And then next turn we'll probably... I don't know. So it depends. If we think opponent is playing Orchards, we might not play Lavinia. Really? I'm just going to pitch cast Lavinia on this. If they counter it, they counter it. Then we resolve our Ancestral, hopefully. No, they just have Flusterstorm too. Yeah, all right. I mean, Ancestral Sapphire Fluster is a good one. Definitely fall behind on that, but we lost to Dredge in round 1. All right, so I'm going to jam Ancestral and hope they don't have negation. Oh, now I don't have to hope. Okay, all right, well then we've got a plan. I would not concede there. I would not concede there. But I'll take it. Okay, game 1. We're going to do... I think we're going to do the board plan where we board in Flusterstorms, Remoras, and play towards a counter-heavy build. We have to leave in both of our islands because of things and stuff. But we get to bring out this. I don't know if we want to bring out Lavinia. They might take out their oaths, actually. I might not take out Fragment. I might not bring in Fragmentize. I don't know which build. Like, if they're playing the Orchardless build, they've been boarding Oath out. So I think I might do this and keep Lavinia and play, like, super anti-combo or anti-blue spell deck. Yeah. Let's try this. This is like a little bit too much mana, but this hand is like not great. I kind of want to mulligan it. Too many lands. We have the power of the London mulligan. You don't really want to mulligan in this like counterspell oriented matchup, but we'll do it if we got to do it. What's those standings looking like? Code Provider 5-0, Prince 5-0, Stefan 5-0, William 5-0, Avalon Slasher, Condescend Chains, Monkey No Props, Beerus, Enrichetta, CFT, CFC, Javier. Damn. All right. Is 6-1 guaranteed top 8? No. We lost round 1. We have to win. We have to go 7-1. We are priced into going lose round 1, win 7 in a row to try to top 8. Someone who's like 6-0 and loses to 6-1 might top 8, but oh no, 8-round tournament. There's 149 players in this tournament, which puts us at 8 rounds. But yeah, X1 will be guaranteed. I'm gonna mulligan this hand. My opponent kept a 7-card hand that they deemed risky. I just think this is too weak. I guess I'm going in the risky life as well here. Can't imagine not keeping this. That's really unfortunate. My opponent has probed my hand. Now they'll know to counter Black Lotus. All right. It is what it is. Just smack my mic arm. Land is a great draw. Did not draw land. I mean, I'm going to cast it. If they got force, they have force, right? They had force. Man, Gitaxian Probe is so good. That's so frustrating. There's no chance in hell they ever counter Lotus there. If they didn't have Gitaxian Probe. All right. Not much I can really do about that. I mean, I could not keep the hand, but I like the hand. Null Rod. Well, that certainly makes things harder. Now we can only draw one of our 13 fetches, our 13 lands. It's 12 lands, considering Tolarian Academy. This is not even close to the last round of Swiss. Hmm. 8-round tournament. I mean, I think if we draw a fetch, we're not in a terrible spot. But we haven't drawn any mana sources so far. Would have been pretty rough for us if we Ancestral and hit no mana sources too, so... Yep. I mean, this is just like probe at its finest, I agree. So frustrating. There's just no chance they would have ever done that. I just can't seem to draw a land. The non-games continue. All right, well, now we're super dead. I guess technically we can draw Academy and Tinker. Maybe not even. Oh, now they hit Gush. All right, we're almost going to concede this game. Pretty close to conceding this game. I didn't think they'd have a Null Rod, though. Maybe I will keep the Fragmentize. It's kind of an interesting tech. Mix and Boo, huh? That can't be good for me. I don't know if I even want to show them that I have double negation. Oh, they're going to Gush into Force. Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, this is good enough. All right. I mean, I think I was losing this game even if I resolved Ancestral. Kind of crazy. Let's put this Fragmentize back in our deck. I'm going to take out one Opal instead here. All right. Now I've drawn the Fragmentize, of course. I think this hand sucks. It's really unfortunate. I think I'm going to mulligan this hand. Yeah, this is much better. Wow, that's kind of a tough choice on what to put back. I'm pretty sure they boarded out Oath, so I mean I can get Mind Break trapped, but what am I gonna do? I'm gonna go Black Lotus, land Black Lotus, Mentor with Flusterstorm backup, and then I'm gonna probe after. I want Time Walk, but I'm not convinced I can always cast Time Walk. And like long term, top might be better than Time Walk if I can't cast Time Walk. Like I can do a top every turn for my mentor. I'm not really sure. So I lose this game if my opponent keeps Force of Will or Force of Negation plus Mindbreak Trap, but this is like probably the high roll. They didn't have any forces. They're gonna trap this. Looks like they might trap this. No. So their hand was no counter magic, wasteland, tropical volcanic, null rod, dig, Narset Ren. That's not a keep. That's a keep? Huh. Unfortunately, this Time Walk does look worse than my top. Moxen? I mean, that's pretty good. Oh my god. I don't think I've drawn much better than I did in this game, so. Oh, we're pretty lucky. Still made it to 10-minute rounds. We finished all of our rounds in 12 minutes. What is going on? All right, welcome back. Still kicking. 5-1. This is now round 7 of 8 in this vintage showcase. We need to win both of our rounds to make top 8 and qualify for the qualifier. We got Lucas across the table. Lucas has no recorded vintage results that I could find, so I don't exactly know what we're going to put them on. This hand is on the weaker side, but is pretty reasonable into blue decks and pretty miserable into other things. I don't know how I feel about this hand. I'd like to have a bit more of a powerful hand. We do have Brainstorm Fetch Land, which gives us some amount of leverage, and Probe to figure out how we want to play. I don't know. It's a very sus hand. I think I might put it back and just try for better. This hand's definitely stronger, even though it has some similar problems. Gonna keep this. It's definitely a better hand against mono white, as we have an ability to turn off an Archon and go for a Tinker combo. My opponent has mulligan to 5. Could be Dredge, could be mono white, could be anything really, but definitely Bizarre decks and mono white are more likely to mulligan. So, I mean, like, I'm in a pretty nice spot where I get to play top, spin top, have a mystical, look for a Tinker if I can think I can resolve a Tinker. If we spin top and we know we're up against mono white, we can spin in a way where we can end step a dress down, find a blue source, mystical for Tinker, and then Tinker with a blue source too. They kept their 5-card hand. Let's see what they do. It is oops all spells. Wow. We lucked out. Opponent had to mulligan to a hand that didn't have a turn 1 kill. We are very lucky to be alive. The good news is dress down actually beats oops all spells, so that's helpful. see what we can find on top. I'd like to see like a force. Time walk. I'm definitely interested in that. So I can go Island, Ruby, Time Walk, Tinker. And that is just really weak to Force, but we're already weak to Force anyways, so... I think it's better to just Tinker than risk anything here. Yeah, I'm down. I can't imagine they'd be able to keep a 5-card hand that has Force. I am going to sack the Ruby because I think the Crypt will be more useful. So we can brick here and lose, which is unfortunate, which we did. So I think we could easily lose here. We didn't have to go this hard, but this is definitely a losable position. Demonic. I mean, they could have Lotus Undercity Informer, maybe. Lotus Tinker. Oh, wow, we're dead. Wow. Yeah, I mean, I lost this game. I didn't have to do this. I could have passed with Dress Down up. I don't know. I like... I think I could have just played this game slower and not lost because of that. I think it's on me. I think I made a bad choice. Oh, they have 2 therapies. Yeah. I think it's my fault. I should have put my opponent on a no force hand. I should have just put my opponent on a no force hand and gone for pass the turn with Dress Down up and then Mystical for Tinker on the following turn to win. I don't know why I did that. It was just very silly of me. Just really bad play. Well, I threw it for myself. I don't know. Just a bad play. Really silly play, because there's just no reason. I mean, the reason is force, but if they have force, like, I'm losing if I Tinker anyways, right? So there's just no really solid reason to go for something like that. I like Remora on the play, but not on the draw, so I need to bring that in here. It's possible that I just, like, take out some of the more speedy aspects of my deck, because they're not really necessary. Or even the grindy aspects of my deck. Something like this. It was just a super punt. It was a super punt. I just feel like we were 100% to win the game, and I just threw it away. Yeah, I didn't like that one. Remember from last night? That's the roof bar, right? Yeah. It was a free win. My opponent mulliganed to 5, and I just threw a free win away. Why did I do that? I guess there's a compelling reason that my opponent could have a Pact of Negation, in which case a Tinker line is better than a Wait and Dress Down line. I could have also just end of turn, or end of my own turn, Dress Down. Oh, what if I had just done that? If I just end of my own turn, Dress Down through their turn, and then I untap, and then I go for Tinker? I don't know. I think all of the lines I could have took were better than the line I did take. So I'm going to keep this hand, and I'm going to Demonic for, oh, I can't Demonic for anything. I'm probably not supposed to keep this hand then. Shit. I guess I just have to go Tarn Pass with Force Fluster. Can't be right. No, I think I'm just going to go Underground Sea Soul Ring, pass with Force, and then I have Demonic for Soul Guide Lantern or Needle. Yeah, I mean, it's not a huge deal. Like, the cards I was taking out are all super medium. I guess if it was a Snapcaster Mage or something, it'd be slightly better, but, like, not by that much. You don't need Mentor versus Oops, I agree. I don't know. I think I'm, like, really tilted right now. I gotta try to recover. Sure. I think it was just a 1 game. I really don't like this many Flusterstorms against Oops either. All right. I think I'm just going to Demonic for another Force. I feel like it's hard for me to lose if I do that. Obviously, I have no play, but I think it makes sense. Okay. Not ideal, but it's a blue card, so I definitely want to get it into play if I can. It's really good against all their stuff. I'm going to hold that because I have a Mentor and I don't have Metalcraft. Black, blue, Demonic Tutor. Okay. Why would you use your blue? Couldn't you just use your white? It's a pretty good Flusterstorm. They should probably Ancestral on my upkeep. Okay. Another land. They're actually close to starting to play through Lavinia for a lot of their spells. All right, hit our land here. I think I'm just going to slam Lavinia first. Should stop a lot of bad things from happening. All right, I think we're fine in this game, but we have to win a game on the draw. Which is going to be challenging. Wow, they actually can play through Lavinia for Charbelcher now. They can't, obviously, Dread Return from their yard, but... And they can't Pact or Force. It might even be better to hold open double Force here, but I don't think we need double Force. And I'd rather get the clock in play. Because they can't force back, so it's pretty unlikely they could, like, Belcher kill me. I mean, I'm slamming that in play. I don't know. Oops off spells just seems like such a weak deck, but I guess if I don't play well, I can get punished. That's lethal. Actually, I had lethal on the table already. Okay. So in the game 3, we're gonna take the Memoras out. And maybe the Mentor out. And we're gonna bring back in Mystical Snapcaster. I guess like to Fairy or something. Opposition Agent only hits Demonic, right? I mean, our deck contains 2 Lavinia, 2 Dress Down, 6 Forces. This is fine. All right, we have to mulligan to a Force hand. This hand has Force and Soul Guide. I don't know. Is this enough? Is 1 Force, 1 Lantern, if we draw white mana Fragmentize good enough? No. They kept their 7. It's pretty hard to pass up having a Force. I think I'm going to keep it. I mean, we're just super dead to turn 1 kill with Force backup, but I guess it's hard to mulligan to double Force. I think I'm still supposed to force this even though I have Soul Guide Lantern. Yeah, all right. Do they have turn 1 kill, or can I get a Lantern in? Whatever, man. It's my own fault for throwing game 1. What a joke. I mean, perfect 7. Turn 1 kill with Force backup. Nothing to do besides mulligan to double Force, which is not feasible. Disgusting. No, we're dead. It's because I threw game 1. Like, game 1 was totally just a free game. I had a free win, and I made the wrong play. And I got punished by variance on my mistake. Whatever. Okay, here we are now in the 8th and final round of this Vintage Showcase event. 5-2, we're up against Kenzaburo. Kenzaburo has been playing like Jeskai Control. Definitely going to keep this hand against Jeskai Control. Tough matchup. Jeskai is definitely a hard one for PO. Do we have a Ragavan here? No, that's an Underground Sea. Wait, what? Is there an Underground Sea in this deck? Oh, there is an Underground Sea in this deck. Splashing Demonic Tutor. Okay, sure. Oh, wait, we're just on all kinds of nonsense. All right, Dark Confidant, turn 1. It's real good against me. Just crazy additional value. I'm going to get my Sensei's Top in play. This is bad. Dark Confidant historically great against PO. They hit a Force of Negation off of it. I typically don't have enough removal spells really to deal with it. It's just going to get an incremental card advantage. Doesn't really threaten their life total at all. So this looks like it's going to be a really challenging matchup for us to win. And they have the Wasteland, of course, and a Time Walk. So that just draws them a card too. An extra card off of Bob. Not good. Not good for the home team. Brainstorm. This is going to be a really tough game to win. My opponent had a very strong hand, especially against Pio. You're going to hold up negation? No. You're going to play a Jace Prodigy. We're going to get buried in this game. My opponent decided it's time to play the fairest of Magic, and we're going to play a cube deck. That's a good card here. That's such a good draw, because it does seem like we might be winning on the ground. Oh my. I think we'll go for a balance. It's going to get negated, but that's okay. Well, I'm going to cast this balance this turn. It's going to get negated, but that's again, like, that's okay. I guess I might lose a bunch. No, it's fine. This is fine. Yeah, negation, pitching, brainstorm. Then I can shoot. I am gonna keep the top on top. Play mentor, and then I can draw into swords. I guess they're gonna time walk, unfortunately. I guess they could force me to fetch too. It might not be good enough, but it was definitely a worthwhile attempt. I really don't see us progressing in this game, unfortunately. Like, my opponents, oh, they have a swords in their yard now? Okay. Now I kind of want them to time walk. Yeah, I mean, turn one Bob against PO is just very, very strong. Doesn't come up much anymore, but it definitely used to happen in the past a lot. Yep, they're gonna go for the time walk. It doesn't even really cost them anything to negate. Oh my lord. Okay. Sure. I'm not gonna say the game is totally over, but it's definitely in a rough spot. They now have enough to play Lurrus and bring back Bobble. I assume Lurrus is coming. Oh. Yeah, I mean, that's also really bad. I wish they had revealed that off of Bob. Seems like they must have drawn that in between cards on Bob. I just don't think we're going to be able to resolve this mentor. It seems highly unlikely. Oh, come on now. Oh, now I can't draw to swords. Yep, they found force. So they got a force and a treasure cruise in between their bobs. Probably gonna blind draw for a force here. It's not even that good if we get to go to the next turn. Yeah, blind draw for a force. Didn't hit. Now I get wasted out of this game. I'm just gonna rely on bobs here. I just have to hope the bobs get me there. Nope. One's wasteland and one's tarn. Unbelievable. Oh, now it's probably impossible for it to hit. Not good. Sure. I guess this technically doesn't kill me, so they can flash back and ending anyways, though. I mean, I'm just gonna play to the bobs, I guess. I really needed. I mean, there was 4 bob triggers and 12 life. It was totally doable, right? I think there's still technically there might be like dig through time, force of will. So force and preordain. I just needed a force off of the other one. Yeah, I mean, I think they're bobs. A little lucky. A little lucky. This is gonna be a tough matchup. It's gonna be a tough match. Like, am I supposed to bring in Remora against this? Probably not. Am I supposed to bring in additional fragmentizes? Or I mean, additional swords? Maybe. I don't know how many creatures are in this deck. Just gonna trim on some stuff. No Hull Breacher. No Hull Breacher. This is fine. I don't think I want to bring in Remora here. They could have a huge creature contingent. It's really hard to tell what's going to be in their deck list. Like, it could be really large creature contingent, and then I don't really want to play Remora into that. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I think turn 1 Bob is really good against us, and then chaining that into Time Walk is really rough. Well, Remora is really good against control decks because you can like play your spells into their counter spells, and you'll get value back. I just think that there's a high chance that they have just a lot of creatures in their deck, and it's not that good there. Like, having a counterspell war where you have a Remora is highly advantageous. All right, let's try again. We know what we're up against. Unfortunate. I'd love a turn 1 mentor, but no, these hands are so unplayable, unfortunately. This is a rough way to end the stream, too. Well, you pay for Remora, and then you just, like, PO at end of turn and stuff. All right, this has to go, unfortunately. This is our best hand, and it's so bad. I can't, I don't know. They kept 6. We can, like, just demonic for Tinker and hope it works. Well, it was nice knowing you, chat. We had a good run from 0-1 to 5-1. But I think this here ends our adventure. I can try to wait. Don't think I have to cast it right now. Yeah. I mean, it's like a little rough into Wasteland, but I'm gonna do this in case I hit Fluster. I don't have any intention of like POing or anything. Okay, sure. I only have 2 Flusters in the deck. I mean, now if I wait and they Lavinia me, I guess I'll be pretty upset, but it just feels like they definitely have Flusterstorm, right? I mean, they're just slamming Lavinia, right? Maybe I just had to jam. Okay. Well, we have spells to draw into. Casting into an obvious Flusterstorm is like really silly. Sure. I'm surprised they left that in. 1 out? That seems like a poor evaluation of the cards in my deck. We have like lots of good cards to draw into, like Brainstorm. I mean, we're just dead. We like mulliganing to 5 here is just like impossible to play through. What are these top decks? There wasn't a single card in there that I wanted. Okay. Well, by the time we get there, we'll have enough mana to pay for Flusterstorm. It's fine. It's doomed. Did we have 4 mana when they went for Prismatic Ending on Emerald? I don't think so. I think they probably DT'd for Ancestral or Force or something. Could have DT'd for Lotus, I guess. That's possible as well. Yeah, they DT'd for Ancestral. It's fine. They've had Fluster this whole game. It's like extremely clear that's what's happening. Balance. All right. Yep. They pitched Flusterstorm to negation. All right. I mean, the way might be clear now. We got their Flusterstorm and their negation there. But we don't have a Moxen anymore. That's fine. That doesn't make any mana. They still have 5 cards in hand, though. No, I think they're going to get Lurrus here. Oh, might they have Dig Through Time or Treasure Cruise? Wow. Brutal. No, they have Lurrus. When did they get Lurrus? I guess they're going to loop Spellbomb now. All right, Mana Crypt beats Flusterstorm here. Don't think Tinker does, though. It's unfortunate. Yep. Second Fluster. Okay. Not much we could have done. This matchup seems atrocious, and our hands were not remotely capable of winning these games. What did we keep in game 1? We kept like a Ponder hand against a known fair. There's a Tropical in this deck? Does that mean there's like Deathray Shamans or something? I mean, Kenzaburo is known to run like one Deathray Shaman. Could happen. It's not really like the green-based 5-color standstill list because it's clearly... I mean, I'm definitely upset we didn't play Mystic Remora. They played no creatures this game. Just weird. I don't think you're supposed to like board out Bob or anything. Bob is insane. Oof isn't even good against shops. I think it's a splash for a Deathray Shaman is my assumption. My assumption is this so Deathray Shaman can eat creatures. Whatever. It's just like a situation that I shouldn't have put myself in because I should have beat the Oops All Spells player and not been put into the X2 bracket with this stuff. So I think it's probably a reasonable deck choice right now, considering that if you play like, I don't know, Stony Silence and Swords to Plowshares, your deck is probably pretty well positioned against like mono white and combo. Sure. Couldn't even get a 6-2 finish. Brutal day. All right, end step dress down gives me a PO target if I draw into like land or Moxen. Oh, I'm gonna have to PO to get rid of their force because they merch it for force. So I guess this land is gonna get killed. They have a negation too? It's just dead time. Ever since I didn't hit like the ability to play my Tinker, everything after that has kind of just been dead time. So I can technically draw force and get a mentor through. I don't even think that's good enough. So we did keep in Bob's, that's correct. Maybe they boarded out like Jace's. Jace's still has incremental value, even if it's worse. All right, I'm off it, chat. Really unfortunate way to go. This matchup seems extremely poor, and our hands were not really capable of winning. So now we are super, super dead. 5-3. Not a terrible finish, really, all things considered, but just kind of a rough way to end the night. I do think that the one thing that sticks out over the whole stream was the misplay against... I mean, I say misplay, but you could theoretically say it was a reasonable choice against Pact of Negation, but the playing aggressively and getting punished against Oops All Spells was probably the only thing that was, like, super notable. I felt like all the other games were pretty one-sided affairs, so it is that, and that is what it is. I'm gonna go off to dinner, and I'll come back and do the data later. As for the deck, I think this was a pretty good configuration. I only played against mono white once, and it didn't even really feel like it was necessary. The balance is kind of decent in general, so it's not a huge deal, but I don't know what the Sword's main. The Sword's main could be something like third dress down or second to fairy, or there's a lot of other things it could be, and I'm not sure first Swords in the main is like even really what I want to be. We didn't get to use Remora, not once. But we did play with the negations a lot, and those were quite good. So I do think that the Remora negation sideboard has a lot of merit against like these Oops All Spells, Jewel Shop nonsense that people are registering these days. So probably a pretty reasonable chance. I also think there's possibility that you might want to play some like Hull Breachers in your PO sideboard. They kind of seem pretty reasonable right now, as people like... They were fairly heavy in the metagame, so people moved away from decks that lose to Hull Breacher, and then as people moved away from Hull Breachers, you know, decks that lose to Hull Breacher came back, so possibly some switching around there. Definitely think it might be just past the time where PO needs to play Hercules at all. I definitely still want the merchants, you know, the target Hercules like tutor for, but it's possible that we can get away with just not playing any Hercules. Though, for what it's worth, Hercules can be pretty okay against combo shops. We'll have to see. All right. Thanks for watching new vintage videos on my YouTube channel every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Please go subscribe over there. And I hope everybody has a happy and safe weekend.